What's your favorite scary movie?
Do you ever fantasize about
damn enchiladas?
That's much too vulgar display of power, Karen.
Let me ask you one question. Are you having fun?
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Because I promise you, you and I are going to have some fun.
Oh, no.
It is time to keep your appointment with the Wicker Man.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Shut up, you bitch hog.
Game over.
Welcome back to another Dreadcast XTRA CUT.
Nice.
It's
Extra
a cut now. I was a bit worried when I was not coming up with it, but designing it for the logo because is Bake Off extra slice or extra cut?
Slice, I think.
Oh, good. Thank God.
Yeah.
Even though I'm sure there's probably a many series out there called Extra Cut. It's quite generic term, but it works.
We don't want to rip off the Bake Off.
We don't want to rip off the Bake Off.
We don't want the
Bake Off.
We don't want Paul Hollywood on our asses.
And whoever's presented it this week.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah. But yes, welcome back to another Extra Cut. These this isn't a new series. This is just whatever. This is just when we need to do a shorter review than a normal review. Just get some points out there. Like the last Extra, which is now Extra Cut, was Late Night with the Devil. We felt we didn't really have much to bring to the table with it.
Yeah.
Still need to discuss it.
That's what it is. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Is we don't feel like we've got a long time. What am I trying to say? We don't feel like we've got a full length episode's worth of material to talk about.
I was about to cut him off then. Unbelievable.
I am just trying to
Can you act professional, please? We're a professional podcast here.
Since when?
Oh, since forever, sir.
I thought you were going to say since Friday. Since Friday.
Since about 2 o'clock this afternoon. So with today's film, it kind of just fit perfectly with us doing another Extra Cut because I briefly described my thoughts on today's film in a violent nature on our last episode, which was a 2 films under special featuring Polaroid and Countdown. Go check that out here for the video watchers, or you people out there in video land. I was very, very brief, very vague with it, and because I just figured Aidan will watch it, but I still don't think we're going to have that much to talk about. There's very little meat on this film, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I personally have my likes and dislikes of this film, but it's not necessarily a bad thing that there isn't much to talk about. It's just how the film is.
Yeah.
You know. So today the extra cut, a little extra cut for you is on In a Violent Nature, which has only now just come out in the cinema. We, as a lot of people like to know how we or where we watch certain films, this was somewhere on the internet. I can't remember where, I'm afraid, but you can go watch it in the cinemas. Go watch it in the cinemas. Various means you can find it on the internet. So yeah, I briefly mentioned, like I said in the last episode, what I thought. I will reiterate some of those points as we go through. But firstly, did you like it?
I don't think I did.
Really? Interesting. Okay.
On the whole,
as a film as a whole. Okay.
I see what it was trying to do.
Oh yeah, entirely.
But
if you can't see what it's trying to do, then you've missed the point entirely.
It just didn't really work for me. And I think I was just kind of left thinking, well, yeah, it's, I if I had to put it in a nutshell, it's Friday the 13th fan movie. Yeah. That's what it comes across as. It's, and it wouldn't surprise me if it came out later that they when they made this, Chris Nash thought, I'm sick of waiting for that Friday the 13th reboot. I'm gonna do it myself.
Oh yeah,
because so many the killer's backstory is very reminiscent of Jason's. We've got the very sort of slasher by numbers beats of sexy college kids in the woods on a camping trip, whatever.
Oh, it's all there.
You know,
it's
we've
all
got,
there.
We've got a couple. We've got a stoner character. We've got, you know what I mean. We've got the whole sort of gamut of camp counselors from your various franchise. But yeah, it's a fan made Friday movie.
If
I mean,
you
they
want to
call
go
the
back and
killer.
check out our cliches video.
Yeah.
Right here.
I mean, they call
all of this.
they call the killer John. That's kind of
Johnny.
It's John.
Yeah.
That's one of the mates. John Vorhaus.
Johnny Voice.
Johnny Vaughan.
Johnny Vaughan. Oh yeah, there's our parody.
That's a reference for you. Yeah,
It's still out there.
it is. Yeah, it is. It was alright.
Was it okay for you? It was okay. It was watchable. You wouldn't watch it again.
I wouldn't watch
okay.
it. I wouldn't watch it again. But you know, I feel like people are going to talk about this. I feel like there's enough sort of unique. There's enough of a unique feel to it that people are going to talk about it, and for those reasons, I'd say, you know, it's trying to do something unique with a very formulaic slasher, which I think is good. There was a kill in there that I was really not expecting to be sort of amazed by.
Okay, let's get it, because if it's the one I'm thinking, it might be. We might have different opinions on this.
Okay.
Are you talking? So it's gory at times.
It is gory.
Very gory at times.
And I think the gore effects are good. It's you know,
the gore effects are superb. Yeah. Which compared to actually, if this film is going to get compared to Jason Friday the 13th a lot, Friday the 13th are not that gory.
No, they're not. No,
really, at all. A lot of the kills are off camera, especially the later ones. They got edited.
Yeah. We're fighting ratings and stuff. So there's a lot of quick cuts, and that's one thing this film doesn't do is.
Oh no.
There's not a lot of quick cuts. It's.
Oh no.
We're staying with it. We're staying with it, and we're gonna watch the entire, you know, 437 hits with the axe.
Yeah.
Or whatever it might be. Or, you know, 5,418 steps, because we have a lot.
Is that
length
wait?
shots of
are you? Is that specific, or are you just pulling that number out your ass?
I mean, I'm just pulling that number out of my ass, but you know, it's got to be somewhere in the ballpark.
Okay, so I mean, let's get on to the kills. Just quick summarize of the film. It is basically somewhat a parody of a Friday the 13th style film, but it's in the perspective of our killer, Johnny Vaughan. He's not the POV perspective, but we are following him more than we would be following the horny teens antics.
Yeah.
Which is what I kind of described to you in our last video, where there's very little meat in those antics, because really, what does a killer who is only out for his prey do?
I mean,
nothing really.
Nothing really.
He doesn't do anything really. He walks. He's kind of like an It Follows antagonist, you know, where it just follows its prey and kills. That is all. It does have some sort of goal. It wants this medallion that's been taken off its grave. Some more of a spiritual aspect of the film there.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's his only goal, and these teens are in its way, and he'll do it. He'll stop at nothing to kill them.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to this film.
There really isn't. So that's it. So that's the basic plot in a nutshell. Is we get a bunch of teens that are out off to the woods for a camping trip, whatever. On the way, they stop off at the site of a local legend, and one of them steals a golden locket. There's a little bit of exposition around the campfire as they're talking about this local legend of a massacre that happened. And in the meantime, our killer John is resurrected and sets off in pursuit, basically. Yep. And yeah, that's the film. And yeah, there are, let's say, lots of shots of him walking, and it felt to me when I was watching it like we were seeing, like, it's all obviously it's all deliberate, but it's sort of like that bit of the slasher films that you don't see. So whereas like Jason has this, like, you know, almost supernatural ability to be in various different places and almost teleport around, we actually see the bits off camera, as it were, with him like marching to the next location.
Doesn't run, right?
He doesn't run.
No.
He's definitely plodding, deliberate walk. I mean, the guy, the actor that played John, Ry Barrett, has that sort of slasher mobility, the mannerisms and stuff. Yeah. He plays the part. He plays the part well. There's another bit as well where just after his first kill, which is very reminiscent of the behind the tree.
Yeah, like a garrote wire. Yeah.
It's a little bit more violent because it's a I can't remember. It's a type of pull saw plane or something, and it cuts through the top of the guy's head.
Through the mouth, yeah.
But then we see him like dragging the body off and breaking into a ranger station and like sort of depositing it. And I was like, oh, it's that bit where, you know, Michael or whoever kills somebody, and then like 3-4 scenes later, yeah, we're seeing the bit where they hang them up, which we wouldn't normally see. And I was like, oh, okay, but that was kind of the novelty of that wore thin like pretty quickly. Because there are so many shots of him walking, and then walking a bit more.
And the thing I think as well, I mentioned the problem, but not problem with him walking. I didn't necessarily mind it too much, but I can see how if Friday night couple were going to go see a horror, let's go see a horror film. What's this? Oh, the violent nature. I mean, saw a trailer on the TV. No one sees trailers on TVs anymore. No. Looks great. In fact, I guarantee you there is not a single trailer for this film on any TV channel right now. Let's go check it out. I imagine some people could be there on their fist, just resting, going, come on, let's get on with it. I'm bored.
Yeah.
Where's the jump scares?
That's the thing. If you're looking for a fun popcorn slasher film, this is not it. This is not Thanksgiving. This is not Friday the 13th.
It's experimental film.
Yeah. And yeah, it didn't, like I say, it didn't do it for me. The kills are good. The kills are good.
The kills.
But I could have done very much without the lingering shots of woodland and the long, rambling exposition scenes and the long. I mean, just the skip to the end when our final girl gets picked up, and we have a 20-minute monologue about a bear attack.
We'll come back to that. We'll come back to the end at the end because I do want to talk about the end. The kills. We could talk about the kills. Were you talking about the yoga girl's kill? Because every teen has their own characteristic, and she's the yoga girl. She's the popular girl, the yoga girl. Her kill is obviously the most, I guess, infamous of the film. It's crazy. So. It's ridiculous. I hated it.
I mean, it's ridiculous. You're right. It is definitely ridiculous, and that's sort of what made it good. It's new, I think, is the thing. And my note on it was like,
it's very new.
Because John sneaks up on this girl doing yoga on a cliff edge. She's expecting, we get that little cliche where she's expecting it to be somebody else. He steps on a twig and it cracks, and she's like, oh, you know, you finally decided to come and join me. Turns around and shock horror, it's not who you were expecting. She then nearly falls off the cliff. But before she does, she
gives up.
Yeah, it's weird that she just stops. She just stops still. Stops herself from falling, and then instead of thinking, right, I need to run this way or that way,
right.
She's just stop. John punches through her back with a hook. He's got 2 hooks connected by a chain.
Yeah.
He punches through her back with 1 hook. She then doesn't die of shock immediately and turns around to sort of look at him. At which point he hooks her through the head with the other hook, and then pulls the first hook out of her back, pulling her head down
it
and
goes down her
through
spine and then
through her stomach, and so he pulls her own head through her stomach, basically from the back.
But it's you already killed her.
It's ridiculously over the top. Think about some of the most elaborate over the top Jason kills that we've had. This is like turned up to 11. You know, this is that, but more. It's completely ridiculous. But I couldn't help but feel like, well, I've never seen that before.
I've certainly never seen it before.
And for that, it gets a couple of extra points. You know, it was like, it is ridiculous. It is massively over the top. But I was like, you know what? Well done. That's new. I've never seen that before.
I think it had too many steps. It didn't fit his character, and the girl really annoyed me. Her character.
I mean, all the characters.
All of it. But the way she reacted to him and just stopped dead in her. It's like her power just shut down.
Yeah.
That kill fits Art the Clown. Okay, that is an Art the Clown. Art likes to play around.
Or a Mortal Kombat.
Or
brutality.
It
plays out very much like a Mortal Kombat brutality. All we were missing were the sort of internal X-ray shots of bones snapping and things.
Oh, her neck did do.
We do see something,
But compare that to the Ranger kill later on, which I much preferred that because he paralyzes the Ranger, and she like crunches his spine.
Yeah.
And that is way more visceral because he then puts the Ranger on the log cutting machine, the log chopping machine, which is so slow, and it's all still one shot.
It is all one shot. Yeah, that's good.
Watching his arm first get cut off while he's still alive, and then his head. Granted, that's still got a few more steps. Could have just done the head.
It could have,
but I think it's way more visceral and horrifying because he's alive.
Yeah. I mean, it's a better use of a lengthy, extended shot as well. I'll give it that. I mean, just you mentioned there that the reactions of the characters. I mean, it is your typical slasher film fodder. They're all the most obnoxious, irritating teenagers that you can't wait to see them get killed. I don't know if the level of acting has something to do with a lot of it. There's again the point. I can't remember any of the characters' names, but essentially John axes one of them in the leg. He and then his mate shoots John, and then he runs over to his friend and goes, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Mate, you are far too chill for somebody that has just seen their friend violently attacked with an axe and then shot the perpetrator. Like you know what I mean? He's not screaming frantic. It's just, oh my god, you okay? Like he's. I mean, I went for a hike with my friend at the weekend, and he slipped and bashed himself on a rock.
Oof.
And I was like, oh, are you all right, mate? Which I feel was an appropriate response for that sort of level of accident. Exactly. Might have been a little bit more emotional if it had been in that scenario that plays out, and it's just. Yeah, it feels very weird. And I don't think the acting of the teens is up to much.
I mean, I completely agree, but I would say that's probably wasn't his priority. I wouldn't say it's a priority.
No, and again, nobody's watching a slasher film of any. No, any and it fits the trope. The acting, it does.
Lake kill. The lake I did like because of the camera work. You knew what was going to happen. As soon as he went under the lake, as soon as you saw them in the distance, he was going under the lake. But he took a break from his walk just to go and kill them.
Yeah.
So again, it was back to the whole. His goal was the amulet, the necklace, the chain. But that story kind of took a break for a bit.
It does. I mean, and we get no explanation for what this locket is.
No.
Or why it's the Ranger comes in at the end with some more exposition to say, like, to basically curse the kids out for stealing it, and that was the only thing that was keeping his soul at bay. And it's like, well, why? Like the backstory of John isn't hugely fleshed out.
No.
But I think that also leads on to one of the other issues, in that there's not really any resolution for the story.
It's left ambiguous.
I mean, yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Two more things just before the ending. What do you think of the mask? The vintage firefighter mask.
So it's the vintage firefighter mask with like a whistle stapled and like stitched to the mouth, which I thought was
It looks
quite
like a bird face.
It's, I mean, it's all right, I guess. It's not.
It's different.
It's different. I suppose it fits with the theme, the surroundings. So obviously it takes place in the wilderness and woods, and one of the sort of central locations or reasons for this the massacre took place in a logging camp, and part of John's backstory is that some nasty loggers were mean to him, which resulted in his death. So it fits with his hence his weapons. He's got a hatchet and these like drag hooks, and then he's this sort of like the Firewatch mask. Yeah, it's good enough. It's different. It's a little bit reminiscent of like Scarecrow in the Chris Nolan Batman films.
It's kind of like more of like a baggy bag,
like a bag, like a sack. Yeah, a bit more like a burlap sack. Yeah, it's good enough, I suppose.
But when he takes it off, that really disappoints me. When we get a full-on close-up of his face,
we do get a full-on close-up of his face. I mean,
he looked blind.
He did look blind. Yeah, he's got a kind of milky eye thing going on. Yeah, I mean that's the general rule of these sorts of things, is that if you're going to do a face reveal of your killer, you do it at the end. But given that he's not in the end, we don't. Once
the ending.
Once he's had his final kill, he's sort of out of the picture, isn't he?
The ending. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, one of the things about it as well is that a lot of this does take place in daylight.
Yeah, it is predominantly all, which actually looks quite beautiful. I find.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's down to it being a modernly shot film.
Yeah.
Compared to Friday the 13th in the 80s,
mm-hmm.
the colours are not as crisp as a film in that sort of context and setting as they are now. And the woods look beautiful.
Mm-hmm. But I think that might be what makes sort of his face reveal a little bit more jarring as well, because it's sort of full daylight. But you're right. I mean, it does look beautiful. It is. I do like that sort of American wilderness vista of like forests and lakes and stuff. Anyway, it's very. I don't know where this was shot, but
I'm not sure. But it being very devoid of music and score.
Mm-hmm.
You get to hear all like the rustling of the trees when he's walking, the birds tweeting, and it feels a lot more organic and more natural than a Hollywood horror film. Like
I think a lot
I'll
of it's
give
shot
it
with
that.
natural light as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them. All right, so the ending. We've got to talk about the ending, the ambiguous ending.
So our final girl is sort of she's called Chris. She's briefly rescued by the ranger and then sort of legs it.
With her fella, but he doesn't last long.
He doesn't last long either. Again, that's the 47 axe chops to the face and head. Yeah. His head is basically minced, finely ground into burger meat.
That went on and on.
I mean, things going on and on and on is the main themes of the film, as far as I'm concerned. For
think
good
him
or
walking in the woods is long? Get to that scene.
For good or ill, he's like, stop! He's already dead.
He's already dead.
And yeah, Chris is sort of. She finds herself like walking down a road, a trackway in the woods, in the forest, and she's picked up by a lady in a pickup who, sort of senses something wrong and drives, to come with me, I'll get you to safety, and they pile in the pickup and off they go. And the last, it is sort of 15-20 minutes of the movie is them basically in this pickup and she's the lady's name. I think she's just credited as the woman, played by Lauren Marie Taylor, who was Vicky in Friday the 13th Part 2.
Really now that's quite a nice little callback.
Really now,
I had no idea.
Yeah, she's the only person that I've been through the cast list, and she's the only person I've seen in anything else, or I've seen anything else of. But yeah, she's basically quizzing her and saying, you know, like what happened, and Chris says it was an animal, and she goes into this long monologue about a husband or brother or somebody that was attacked by a bear and how he nearly died because of this bear attack, and then some animals just go crazy and just try and kill everything around them. And all the while she's talking, I'm thinking, right, any minute, like a hook's gonna come through the window, they're gonna crack.
Yeah.
Like I'm waiting for John Boy to make his final appearance and there to be a final showdown moment, and it doesn't happen. And Chris falls asleep because it's incredibly boring. And the woman pulls over to. She notices her legs bleeding. She pulls over to deal with the bleeding. I'm thinking, right, now it's going to happen. They've stopped the car again. And I was really fully invested for this to happen, as I'm sure a lot of other people that see this will. Endlessly sort of scanning the horizon or expecting an axe to come sort of from off frame at any moment. Especially when she stops the car and she gets out of it. And I thought, it's funny that we've seen John walk into all these different locations, and then actually he's going to break his own rules and we're going to see him suddenly teleport.
Yep.
But that's not how this film works, and it doesn't happen. And then we get some long, lingering shots of the woods and the scenery.
Yeah. So I thought all of that to begin with, and when I put a little post up with likes and dislikes on the social media, the Dreadcast, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Go check it out. And I kind of then had a Halloween Ends moment.
Mm-hmm.
Halloween Ends I hated, and then I rewatched it, and then I understood it. I still didn't like it that much, but I understood it.
Yeah.
I had a big thought process for this, and I understood what they were going for. I still don't like the ending that much, but I understand, and I understand. Like it made me elicit the reaction they wanted.
Okay.
Whereas you exactly what you said. They're driving for a good 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So you think in driving terms, I would say they were going maybe 40, 50 miles an hour. Good couple of miles.
It's a country road. There's no reason not to floor it. It's
So I was like, he better not fucking appear. He better.
He's well. Yeah.
I would have been. I think I would have been even more mad if he appeared, because of what the rest of the film was like. Like you said,
I'm with you.
Rules.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So for the whole time, I was thinking, please, if he appears, I'm going to be really pissed off. But because of that thought process, you are constantly looking, you're staring deep into the woods thinking, is that him? Is that him? Because also there was a scene earlier on in the really good scene earlier on in the campfire when they're all alive. In fact, the part I didn't like about this was the camera rotating round the campfire constantly. We didn't get a stationary shot. When they get a group photo, you can see him.
Yes.
Just in the back corner watching them. And I love that. And I thought we were going to get that here.
That is good.
I'm constantly looking. Is he there? Is that it?
Yeah.
No, it's a tree. No. Of course he's not there, because that's not what the film has led him to be like.
No. We've got what I guess you'd call it a more realistic, apart from the fact that it's a supernatural zombie or whatever. It's more the physics of it in that regard are more realistic.
Yeah, completely.
It's funny that you should mention that, because that's a good little bit of dialogue as well that we get, just because obviously a lot of the dialogue is John is in the vicinity of, and we can just hear people.
You hear it in the background.
And we hear a couple arguing, don't we, about the being something in that photo, and he's like, oh no, it's dismissive, it's just a smudge on the lens. And no, I'm telling you, there was something in that. There was somebody in that photograph. I mean, it's a fair point. It is a fair point that it would have broken all the rules. I think I was disappointed that we just didn't see him again, full stop. Like,
which leaves it ambiguous because he gets the locket back, or the amulet back, which maybe leads it to your interpretation that, okay, he's got it back. Does he just go back to his grave? Because that's where it came from in the beginning. His grave is just literally pile of leaves over wherever he is on the ground with it looks like a pipe coming out of it.
There's a pipe coming in, and
it was rested on top of that. So maybe that's what keeps him contained. It's ambiguous. I mean, it's left to your own interpretation.
That's what we're told. The locket keeps him contained. So yeah, now he's got it. And there was a moment where I thought we were going to have a Mrs. Voorhees jumper moment, whereas it's Chris I think Chris is wearing the locket at one point, and I thought she was going to do a follow me Johnny moment, but yeah, we didn't get that. I felt after I guess, you're right. I think you're entirely right. Maybe I was just a little bit disappointed that we didn't see him again. Not necessarily that there wasn't a final showdown or kill, but just...
I'm not necessarily right or wrong. It's just... that's what I think.
Oh, no, I think that's a fair assessment. I think we're looking at... Like I say, we've followed him sort of plodding through the forest for the entire thing in, real time, more or less. So I think it's fair that fair. They're a good few miles down the road at this point. There's no way he's catching up to them, and also he's got the locket back. So technically, is there a motive?
Is there a reason
anymore? Yeah.
So I think it's fair to say, well, if you finish this film and go, is that it? That's more than fair to say, because you're right. Is that it?
Yeah, that is.
But
it.
just
maybe
is it? Think about it a bit deeper, and just think of it think of it yourself, and think what you think's happening in the film and in that world. But were you personally, like, at that point where she's got the door open, were you looking into the woods thinking, is he there?
The whole time. Even when they were driving, even when telling the bear story and they were driving, I was looking like, in the trees zipping by in the background. Not that you were ever going to see anything, but I was convinced that suddenly something was going to come smashing through the window, or like he was already in the back of the pickup, or
the hand come down the side of the window.
Yeah, something was going to happen. But I guess that's the unique nature of it, and that's the interesting twist that it follows a lot of the beats of these old these old slashers, the Friday the 13th and what have you, and then does something different with it. Maybe because it's grounded in a little bit more reality. It's. I don't think I'd watch it again, but
I agree.
I think I can say, I probably would say to somebody, watch it again, but with that caveat of, like, it's not your average slasher. I guess it's a thinking man's slasher. It's a clever one. I
don't think I could recommend it to just anyone, though.
No.
Because I think it would, like I said, come across boring.
I think you need to be a horror fan generally.
You're a bit of a horror nerd like us.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, I think you've got to have been around the block a few times with horror movies and be looking for something out of the ordinary.
You need to know what's going to happen, really. Like, we know our Friday the 13th. We know these films. You kind of knew what we were going to. You knew what to expect. But this sort of film has been clamoured for so long. Like, oh, it'd be so cool to see what they do. But then, when it's executed, the film's executed well. It looks well. It's shot well. It sounds well. But when it's executed in the context, like I said, there's very little meat to it. There's not much there to do.
No, and again, I think there are, with those, as I mentioned, one of my gripes is those, that overuse of extended shots, particularly the walking. I mean, the kills are one thing, but
there is a lot of walking.
Particularly in the beginning, just lots and lots of shots of him walking.
Yeah,
and you sort of think, well, this it's an hour and 30 minutes, just thereabouts.
Could have been an hour.
It could have been, it could have been a long YouTube fan video. It's got that kind of feel to it. And I think, a lot of that is these sort of padded walking shots and scenery shots, which,
I do not want a sequel.
No.
It doesn't need a sequel.
It doesn't need a sequel. I think you take a lot away. You take everything away from it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a unique piece of media in the film world that is just there. It fits, it fills a gap in the horror world of, here's one that focuses on the killer's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
I mean, maybe you couldn't do it exactly the same way with a different subgenre, but it'd be interesting to see something in this vein in like a haunted house movie with... If you're looking for like a twist, if we're saying that this is like, a realistic, more grounded version of a slasher film, we get a more realistic, grounded version of a haunted house film with people maybe reacting a little bit more realistically, and you know what I mean? I feel like the same sort of tone and vibe could be applied to different subgenres. Like a possession film or a haunted house movie with real. I mean, you couldn't follow the ghost's perspective necessarily, but you could probably
Casper.
create something with the same tone and people reacting a little bit more believably and capture a similar mood.
Yeah, think on that. What other subgenres of the horror it might work for, and how it would work. But yeah, that's In a Violent Nature.
That is In a Violent Nature.
I actually really love the title as well, actually. The title was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know, it just reminds me of an American Head Charge song. But that's a very deep cut there. Yeah, In a Violent Nature, if you're big into your Friday the 13th, classic slashers, I would recommend it. If you're not, you're a general horror fan, I couldn't recommend it if I'm honest to you.
No,
but
it's probably
if you want to watch
to
it,
skip.
go check it out. So yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a relatively short one. You know what I mean? So if you're mildly curious, you're not wasting your entire evening.
It's not a bad film. It's not a rubbish film. It exists.
No, it exists. It's unique, and that's going to be sort of the making and the breaking of it for you.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so that's that. Again, these extra cuts will come about whenever, wherever. And who knows whatever film comes out next. It could be in the autumn. Who knows? But there'll be an extra cut soon. But until next time, we will be hopefully looking at some lovely long legs.
Lovely long legs.
Lovely long legs on Mr. Nick Cage. Looking forward to that. I'm sure that's not what the film's about, but looking forward to that. And if you have made it to the end of this episode, thank you for watching and listening to the whole thing. I just want to end this with saying, go watch the original Speak No Evil from 2 years ago. Do not watch a single second of the new trailer, because if you do, you've basically watched the whole film.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put that out there.